Okay, if you're an Oilers fan, you live and breathe this debate. It's the one that pops up all the time, online, in the stands, everywhere. We're talking about number 2, Evan Bouchard. Is this guy a legit elite offensive weapon, or is he a defensive liability? Let's actually dig in and see what the numbers have to say.
Right, this is the big question, isn't it? Because when you watch him play, depending on the shift, you could make a passionate case for yes, and on the very next one, an equally strong case for absolutely not. So let's break down both sides of this argument, and we'll start with the case against him. For a lot of fans, the whole argument that Bouchard's a liability, well, it all starts with what they call the eye test. You know, the mistakes you can see happen right there in front of you. And let's be honest, if you've watched the Oilers, you've definitely seen it. That lost battle in the corner, maybe a slow back check, and then boom, the puck's in the back of your net. It's frustrating, it's memorable, and it feels like a really obvious defensive weakness. But here's the thing. Do the numbers actually back up that feeling? Well, yeah, they do. A lot. Just this season, Evan Bouchard has been on the ice for a whopping 91 goals against. That is a huge number, and it seems to confirm every single fear. It's a kind of number that makes you want to stand up and say, "See? I told you so." Not even close. Because looking at goals against is only looking at one half of the equation. To really get Bouchard's true impact, you got to look at what happens when his team has the puck on their sticks. And folks, this is where the entire narrative just flips on its head. Because yeah, he's on the ice for a lot of goals against, but he is also the absolute engine of the Oilers' offense from that blue line. Just look at the scale of this number. 151. That is how many goals the Oilers score when he is on the ice. All of a sudden, those 91 goals against start to look, well, they look a whole lot different, don't they? So here it is. This is the number that matters most. You do the simple math, and you get a massive net positive of plus 60. Let me say that again. With Evan Bouchard on the ice, the Oilers outscore their opponents by 60 goals. That is an elite, game-breaking differential. This really puts it into perspective perfectly. Think about it like this. For every single goal the other team scores with him out there, the Oilers turn around and score about 1.6 goals of their own. In the NHL, a ratio like that, that's how you win hockey games. Simple as that. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute. Why is his official plus-minus stat so much lower than plus 60? And that's a great question. It's because that classic stat is it's fundamentally broken for a guy who quarterbacks a power play. It doesn't give him any credit for all those power play goals he helps create, which, is a huge part of his value. Okay, so we've established he creates way more than he gives up. But to really, truly understand his game, we have to put him up against the other undisputed top offensive defensemen in the league, Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. Now, check out this chart and look right at that last column, net differential. Bouchard's total impact is identical to Cale Makar's, plus 62. Wow. But then, slide your eyes over one column to the left. Goals against. Bouchard is on the ice for 22 more goals against than Makar is. And that single data point right there is the entire source of this whole debate. This is what we call the Bouchard gap. He's a high-event player, meaning when he's on the ice, stuff happens at both ends. That defensive gap, those 22 extra goals against compared to Makar, that's exactly why the liability label sticks to him. He delivers the same elite results, but he does it in a much riskier, higher-octane kind of way. But hold on, there is one more critical layer to this whole thing, and it's all about the money. Because we all know in a salary cap league, your performance is always measured against your paycheck. And how much Bouchard earns completely changes the expectations that are placed on his shoulders.
And here it is, the jaw dropper. At $10.5 million, Evan Bouchard is the highest paid defenseman of this big three. He makes $1.5 million more than Cale Makar and way more than Quinn Hughes, who plays for the Vancouver Canucks.
So what gives? Why the huge difference? Well, it's all about timing. Makar and Hughes, they signed their deals years ago, before the salary cap exploded, which makes their contracts incredible bargains right now. Bouchard, on the other hand, signed his deal much more recently, so he's being paid the premium 2026 price for his elite offense. And that price tag, it creates a totally different expectation. When you pay top dollar, you expect a complete player, and every single defensive mistake just feels that much bigger. All right, let's bring it all home. Let's answer the question we started with. After looking at the offense, the defense, and the dollars, what's the final verdict on Evan Bouchard? Let's be crystal clear about this.
Is he a liability to winning hockey games? Absolutely not. No way. Any player who is on the ice for 60 more goals for his team than against is, by definition, a massive asset. He helps you win, period. But is he a perfect player? Of course not. The best way to describe him is flawed elite. He has this world-class, series-winning offensive talent, but it comes packaged with defensive risks that guys like Makar and Hughes have managed to smooth out of their games.
I think this quote just sums it up perfectly. You accept that occasional, frustrating mistake in a regular season game because you know his incredible offensive skill is the exact thing that can carry you through a tough playoff series when goals are really hard to come by. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. And it's not just for the Oilers, it's for every GM in the entire league. With money being so tight, can you really afford to pay a top-of-the-market salary for a specialist, even an elite one? Or is that money better spent on a more well-rounded, lower-risk player? Well, that's the multi-million-dollar gamble every single team has to make.